You're listening to Female Founders with Claire Bartlett, the podcast that tells you what it is really like to be a female founder in today's world. We share invaluable insights through personal journeys and real-life business experiences, highlighting the highs and the lows so you can move forward in your business with ease. I am passionate to share with you the realities of business and give you the strategies and simple steps you need to truly succeed with your business. Today's episode is brought to you by Xero Accounting Software, a champion of female entrepreneurs and a proud sponsor of the Female Founders podcast. Managing your business finances can feel overwhelming, but Xero simplifies it all and gives you the power to keep your books in order and your mind on growth. Xero have offered an amazing 50% discount off your first 3 months with them to all our listeners. So if you'd like to take advantage of this amazing deal, then follow the link in the show notes today. But for now, let's jump into this week's episode. Hello and welcome to today's Female Founders Chat Show. We're delighted to welcome Sandra Garlick MBE, a former solicitor turned empowering business leader and founder of the Woman Who Achieves Academy. Sandra has been celebrated for her contributions to women in business, earning an MBE for her services in the field in 2020. Sandra, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm really excited for this session. I think there's so much that we can unpack for the audience. So I want to start off by asking you if there's a pivotal moment or person in your past that you think has led you to where you are today.
I think the pivotal moment for me was a personal one, really. It was walking out of my marriage.
Okay.
And I think at that time, I'd always known that I wanted to do more. I always knew that I could do more. I was somebody that left school with no qualifications. And I just never got that opportunity, got married young, had children young. And I think, and I won't go into why I walked out my marriage, but walking out my marriage with 2 young boys and having to start again was, I think, my defining and pivotal moment, because that set me on the path that I went on via the houses and whatever. But it gave me the drive and the determination to do something, because I had 2 small boys to provide for in the future.
It lit the fire.
Absolutely did. And,
Yeah.
you know, when you're on your own and you haven't got somebody saying you can't do something, and you haven't got somebody saying you wouldn't be any good at that, or you'll fail at that, or you can't achieve that. When it's just you and you're so driven because of that provider nature as a mom to the 2 little boys, I wanted to create opportunities for them in the future. And that really gave me that determination, that focus, that absolute drive behind me to do something about it. Yeah,
It made it non-negotiable for you, for it to succeed.
absolutely. There was no option to fail.
Yeah.
It
And
had to work out.
is it at that point that you launched Woman Who? Is that what you went straight into?
No. I decided to get qualifications and qualified as a solicitor. It took me 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and I went back to school. I got my qualifications. I got into university, got sponsored, did my postgraduate and my training contract, and then qualified as a solicitor. I worked for several years as a solicitor, as an employed, and then when I finally had enough and thought, I'm always innovating. I'm always coming up with ideas, and I go with my ideas and everything. And I was a mature student, obviously. And they used to send me out on projects and things. And I was living away from home a lot. And I was coming up with these ideas and they were squashed. And I felt I just couldn't move. So then I left. I'd always wanted to do Woman Who. It sat in the ideas bank for several years. And, that hamster wheel you get on where you just can't give up the corporate role, because the income's really good and you've got a lifestyle you want to maintain. I've got 2 boys at school that I was providing for. I knew they wanted to go to university. So it was that hamster wheel that I just literally couldn't get off. And then, as I say, I started my own legal practice. And while I was doing that, I was brewing the ideas. And eventually I just woke up one day and thought, I'm going to do this.
That's actually very similar to me in that I was on, it was when I had my daughter actually that took me out of the corporate wheel and set up my, first business, which was a bookkeeping and accounting practice. And all throughout having that, it's almost a decade now I've had that business, the whole idea of female founders and this space that I'm now in has always been there. And I think it's turning 40 this year that's made me take action on it finally and make the space to do it.
Yeah,
So yeah, we've got the same passion, haven't we, in wanting to support women to be the best that they can be. And
absolutely. And, once you've had that, gone through that journey, once you've walked the path yourself
yeah,
and you've had the pitfalls, you've done the detours, and you've gone off track and come back and got all the learning behind you, you can speak from your own experience. I
yeah,
can help other women do what I've done, but not necessarily make all the mistakes I've made. And I
exactly,
don't
yeah.
I don't call them mistakes anyway, but yeah, the benefit of hindsight and all that. So I've
Mhm.
actually walked the path, so I can now impart that, and same as yourself, you've got that experience of running your own business.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many lessons that you learn, when you're starting out, especially. I had 0 experience at the beginning, I'd never done anything like that, so it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about Woman Who.
Okay, so had the idea 10 years before I started it, bought the domain. Get ideas, I buy domains. Had the idea and really scoped it out. Originally,
Mm,
I just wanted to run a big event, and it took the ankle break and being thrown on my sofa, unable to move. And I just thought I've got to do something. And I built a website. I said to my son, I'm going to run an awards event. And lo and behold, 90 days later, I ran it. It was just a one-off. It was to keep me occupied. Never dreamt it would turn into a business. It was just going to be a big event. And so many people approached me afterwards and said, "Oh, this is so on trend right now. This is needed. You're in the right space." Federation of Small Businesses asked me to go join their task force. You know, so
wow.
many things snowballed from that one event. And
Mhm.
subsequently, I published collaboration books. I published 4, sharing the stories, and it was creating the opportunities for women to find their story and share it, and creating that platform for them to share it. So I always had events with speakers, and it
Mhm.
took one lady to come up to me at the end and she says, "I just wish we could capture that, write it down so I can read it over and over again." Hence the books came out. And then the awards, just going into my 9th year. And then the academy grew out of the pandemic, the membership, and just different programs and things like that, different training.
Mm.
And then the speaker boot camps have come out of it as well. And I'm working on some new things. And yeah, it's just evolved over the years. And it's moved along with the times. I never thought, that I'd be going into my 9th year with Woman Who.
Yeah.
Um, running my 9th year of awards, and yeah, and the Solopreneur Awards as the spin-off. It's just grown arms and legs, really.
It's amazing, and I think one thing that people might not know about you, is that actually when you break a bone, that's when you get your best ideas, and that's where we always expect something new to come out.
It is. I was walking in the woods this morning, on a photo shoot, and I was treading so carefully, and the people I was with said, "Don't break anything, don't break any bones." But that is I think sometimes you need to stop to be able
Yeah,
to
it
open
gives
up
you
the
that
space
space.
to innovate. In my case, I'm running 100 miles an hour, not literally running, but moving around, multitasking, doing multiple things,
Yeah.
and I'm clumsy, and I fall, and I break a bone, and that forces me to stop, and it forces me to create the space to innovate, to start the new things. So, but now I'm doing it at a more leisurely pace and making sure that I have time out to innovate, because my mind, I've just got a very creative mind. I'm
Mm.
always, flagging ideas and keeping them and running, going back to them. So yeah, I have to rein myself in sometimes.
I think it was at, a boot camp last year, was it? And you'd broken your arm.
Yes, yeah,
And this blew my mind. This just shows your dedication because during the boot camp, Sandra disappeared for an hour or 2, and she'd actually had to go to hospital to have it reset, hadn't you? And then you
yeah.
you came back and carried on the event, and I just thought that, I mean, that is just a superwoman if ever I've seen it,
I know
no
that.
excuses.
Yeah, I was in excruciating pain. I'd gone to the hospital, I literally left my car there, got an Uber to the hospital and back, and they re-broke my arm and reset it, and it was the most painful thing. It was worse than having babies. That's the type of pain it was. And I did have gas and air, and I did have injections, but no, it was the most excruciating experience. But yeah, I just got back on stage, got
You
the
just carried
microphone,
on.
and carried on.
It was amazing. It was really, and it's so inspirational for the whole audience to see that actually, when you have that passion and that determination, nothing will stop you. You have
Yeah,
to you have to be there, don't you? If you'd organised that event, you couldn't do anything about the clash of the dates, so you just made it work.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that's a real testament to you, Sandra, and how you work. I think it's amazing.
You. Well, my first awards, I was on crutches, so it did sort of seem appropriate.
Love it. So, you mentioned it briefly earlier about how when you've gone through your entrepreneurial journey and you've made mistakes, and like you say, you don't actually like to use that word. But is there a particular, failure or mistake that you learnt the most from, and that you had to, take a lot of lessons from?
Yeah, I think, and I don't call them mistakes, I call them learning curves, because I
Yeah,
think mistakes are fine as long as you only make them once. You learn from them and you move on. Some of the
yeah,
most famous people, Richard Branson, had so many failures and things before they moved on and found what they were good at.
yeah.
I ran my own solicitor's practice. I probably should have called it a day long before I did. I wasn't
Mm,
enjoying it. And, you've been in sort of regulated industries. And when you're a solicitor and you run your own practice, you're heavily regulated. And the regulation, when I first opened it, all you had to do was write a 3-paragraph letter to the Law Society, prove you got professional indemnity insurance, and they opened you a firm.
wow.
By the time I'd moved in, probably I'd say year 5, year 6, the regulatory compliance was so heavy that I was doing 7 people's jobs just sitting behind a desk doing the compliance. You had to
Wow.
be the training principal, the financial principal, the data protection principal. You had to be everything. And
Mm,
I just felt that I was on the hamster wheel again, but in my own business. And
yeah,
I didn't go on holiday. I was working through Christmas. I was working through weekends. It's my relationship with my partner at the time. It was destroying that. Everything about, and we did split up. Everything about it just became all consuming. And the reason I kept it going, I didn't want to let my clients down, but I didn't want to let my staff down because I was paying their mortgages. Now,
yeah,
had I called it a day earlier, things might have turned out a bit different. I merged it really because I just couldn't face going into work anymore. I always say, if you get out of bed in the morning, don't like what you're doing, change it. But
time to change.
I should have changed it earlier, and I think that was a learning for me. Even now, if I get out of bed and don't like what I'm doing, I change it
Yeah.
just like that because I know the signs.
Yeah, I think it's so important because ultimately we all go into business because we want to, we have a passion and we want to enjoy what we're doing. None of us should ever have a Sunday night dread or, you know,
Yeah,
the and I say this a lot about clients as well. If a client's name comes up on your phone and you feel that dread, you don't want to answer it, then you know that that is not the right client for you. And
yeah,
it's time to, to cut those ties because we put so much of ourselves into our businesses. We need to enjoy it. We need to be loving every second of it. And I think, um, like you say, it can be hard to understand when it's the right time to let go, but sometimes you just have to have that
yeah.
self-awareness and make that tough decision.
And I think by keeping it going that extra 18 months, 12 months, to my detriment, personally, health wise, and
Mm,
financially, just to make the staff happy. And, those staff all turned on me anyway and they all left. So, everything I tried to do for them, they didn't appreciate. So I actually thought
mhm,
I was trying with kindness to make it all okay for them, to make sure they had a soft landing. And, I had so many opportunities I could have gone for, but to their detriment. And I went for the one that was to my detriment to help them. And
yeah,
I basically, I should have put done it all a lot earlier. And I think, I learned a huge lesson from that.
mm. And so now it's really important to you to always make sure that you're really aligned with what you're doing and that you constantly have that passion and
Yeah. Plus, I'd never employ anybody again. I mean, I was an employment law solicitor. I would never employ anybody again. I work with associates, I work in partnership, I work with suppliers.
Mhm.
I believe there's more agile ways of working today than employing. I've got nothing against people who want to employ people. It's just not for me. I have much better relationships by working on an equal footing with somebody.
Yeah. I think, this comes up a lot with a lot of people that I talk to, that actually becoming an employer and taking on staff is the biggest pain point for anybody in any industry, and it can put so much pressure on you, and I think, like you say, having those staff made you keep yourself unhappy knowingly because you were worried about them, and it's such a responsibility and a weight on you,
Yeah,
and I also think that nowadays there isn't that mutual respect anymore. I think staff want so much from you that
yeah.
sometimes you just can't give them everything that they want, and it's the balance has completely shifted, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah, I think things have changed since COVID as well.
yeah.
People have got higher expectations and things like that. But it's the flexibility. I was one of the tried to give my team everything that frustrated me about the corporate world. Being able
Mhm,
to work from home, being able to work remotely, all those things, which worked for a while. And I'm going back to late 2000s, early sort of 2008, 2009, 2010.
mhm.
Home working and flexibility and all that wasn't around then. We went
No.
paperless in 2008 before any other solicitors practice did. We were innovators within what we did, and we became a niche legal 500 firm. But as time went on, they hadn't got my passion for the business. I realized that you can start a business, you have your passion and your drive, but trying to instill that into employees that come along, they
Yeah.
don't necessarily have that same drive and passion, because their drivers and their values and everything about what they're doing it for is usually around money, their family, and the flexibility for themselves, not necessarily for you and for what you're trying to achieve. So it's either getting people that are very aligned to what you're doing and share your purpose and passion, which is hard to
Mhm.
find,
Yeah.
or it's working with associates.
Mm. Yeah, I think when you outsource, and you have those external partnerships instead of an employee, they have just as much passion and drive for what they're doing because it's their business. So actually, it can quite
They get
often
it.
align a lot better.
Yeah, they get it.
Yeah. Okay, so if we talk about the Woman Who now and all the different sort of growth that you've had in the business and the different avenues, what are the main challenges you faced as the business has grown?
Well, the business has grown. I mean, the biggest challenge was obviously COVID. When you run an events business, and I was running events quite frequently, and I'll never forget, in March 2020, um, I ran a big event. I think I had 90 attendees there. We were running an
Mhm,
event. It was a morning networking event where I was announcing the finalists of the awards that year. And we all met up, and the venue was running around in panic, installing hand sanitizer machines and telling us to wash our hands and telling us that they were going to have to close at lunchtime. They weren't sure what was going to happen. So I ran that event without a care in the world, took tickets and everything, and then sort of selling everything for that event. And then COVID hit that week. My dad
wow.
died that week as well, which it was all imploding at the same time. And I suddenly
Mm,
realised that built my whole business around face to face events, and there was nothing else.
yeah,
And I went into, obviously, I was grieving for my dad, so that took a little bit of time. But very quickly, I realised, it's a 6 week period during the end of March and April, that this was here for a while, and I
yeah.
had to do something. And I don't like the pivot word, but I had to
Mhm,
do something. I had to innovate. And, thank heaven for that beautiful weather, because I went on dog walks, I sat in the garden, I did all the things that fed my innovation and the way I innovate. And I came
Mhm.
up with the academy. And although the awards were cancelled subsequent times later in the summer and in September, and I had to sit there and refund £10,000 worth of tickets, that
Wow.
was a low point. Uh,
Yeah.
but everybody else was in the same boat, and it was just finding a different way to do things. And out of that came the academy, the online academy, and the membership. That would never have been born had it not been for the pandemic. I was using Zoom, but nobody else was keen. But
Yeah.
now, we've got so many different. My business has gone national because of the pandemic.
Because you suddenly, and I think this is the thing, suddenly Zoom and online spaces became well known and used by everybody. And it did open up the country and the world for so many of us in business because, you know, my bookkeeping and accounting practice up to that point, even though we used cloud-based solutions, we could technically have worked with people all over. We were still very localized, really. Um, but suddenly you realize the capabilities and actually the opportunities that were out there. Um, so this is the thing with COVID, it hit us all so hard, but actually so many good things did come out of it. There was a lot of obviously awful times. We lost our granddad to COVID. But you have to look at the positives and the things that we can take away from it. And that those first few weeks, once we all got rid of the, initial horror and shock of the situation, someone was looking down at us because that weather, I think, gave us the sanity a lot of us needed at that time. Um, and yeah, so that's amazing. So that's what's come out of it. And now that's a huge part of your business, isn't it?
It is,
The
the
academy.
online stuff that I do is huge. It's nice to
Mm,
get back to the face to face, but I
yeah.
don't run as many face to face events now because I run probably 3 or 4 a year, and that's it. They're more
Mm.
signature events, and then the smaller ones I run online. It's just so much easier. Yeah.
And do you find that actually the appetite for face-to-face events has reduced since,
Yeah,
the pandemic?
there is there are still some people that say no, I'm not traveling.
Mm,
Um, so that's interesting. And yet there's others for my awards this year. There are people that are traveling, 200 miles. They don't even,
mm,
they see it as they've booked a hotel, they see that as a whole experience in itself. It's
yeah,
something for them, not just the celebration part, but, the morning is personal development and business growth. So they see that they're going to learn something, they're going to
mhm.
network. It's a big networking event. So they see that as business development for their business. So I've got people traveling from all over.
I absolutely love going away to an event because not just for all of the business development and all of the stuff I'm actually gonna get from a business perspective, but just from a personal perspective. Sometimes it's nice to just have that, like, pause button and,
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about the family or my husband, my daughter's clubs and all of that because I know that's being handled and I can just focus on me, and it gives me that space, like you say, when you break a bone, you get that space um to really think and consider where you are, and I think I get that sometimes from going away. Sometimes, don't tell the husband, but I'll book an extra night away just so I can have that space.
But the thing is, people do that now, and I think so many more people attend my event on their own. People
Yeah.
always used to come with a plus one, either a friend or a family member. But most people now book to go on their own because they feel that confidence in doing that. And they'll
Mm,
tag on a day or something, or arrange to meet somebody there, or just go with the thought that I'm going to meet new people.
yeah. But again, I think that speaks a lot about your event, Sandra, that people feel comfortable enough to do that because I don't think everyone would for all the different events that are out there. Some are quite, I don't know, clicky or they're not as welcoming as other events. And I know I've attended a few of your events and I know how friendly they are. I also think potentially that because it's mainly women, it's a women's
Yeah,
only
yeah,
event. I do feel like that creates a much safer space for people. They definitely feel more confident in attending those on their own than they would if it was open to everybody.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad about that because that's the whole aim of it. It's a
Mm,
supportive environment where everybody lifts each other up, irrespective of the outcome. I
yeah.
recorded my own podcast this week all about when winning isn't about winning. everybody can be a
I love
winner,
that.
even when they're not a winner. It's about
Yeah,
the experience, it's about what the perspective they put on it. It's about, how you look at things. I'm really a glass half full person. I try and find the positive from every negative throughout life
yeah,
and business.
yeah. I'm the same. I think there's so many opportunities and so much to be excited about out there. And I think me and my husband balance each other very well because I'm rainbows and unicorns and, always looking for the positives, and he's a proper negative Nelly. So we balance each other out all the time. And I think sometimes that's why we work, because we do balance each other out.
Yeah.
So talking about the growth and how, well things have gone for you, has there been a moment with Woman Who that you've wanted to quit, that you've wanted to give it all up?
Yeah, there was, just over 12 months, probably about 15 months ago.
Mm,
And I did actually announce that I wasn't running my awards. Um,
yeah.
so probably January 2023, during Christmas and January 2023, I decided I'd had enough.
Mm,
I wasn't going to do this anymore. I'd fallen out of love with it. I was having a lot of personal challenges. My mum is elderly. She's got severe dementia. But I was caring for her 24/7.
yeah, that's a lot.
And I just couldn't function. I literally couldn't function. She didn't know what she was doing, but she would wake me every 15 minutes all through the night. And then she'd sleep
Yeah,
all day, so I'd get my work done, and then I'd have to go through that. So I can understand why they torture people with sleep deprivation. I'm an 8 hours a night religiously, uninterrupted. I need my sleep.
yeah,
And it just got to the point I just couldn't see the wood for the trees, and I literally just felt like throwing the towel in and doing something completely different. Didn't know what, but just something completely different.
mm,
And it got to the March, and where I'd normally announce my finalists and things, and I thought, I really miss this. I miss what it's all about. I was still doing my online academy, and I thought, I want to do. And then I started to get ideas, and I found a program that you and I have done, and I got involved in that. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love my business. I can see so much potential now. And I think I just needed again to stop, and broke my wrist, obviously. Um, and it's true, I broke my wrist and sat back and thought, broke my wrist on the first day of my holiday, so I had plenty of sitting time to think.
yeah.
And I think it was that broken wrist moment that
Mm,
made me think. And I remember sitting with one hand on my laptop trying to create something, thinking, I'm going to get through this. And I can really see. So I said, right, I am running my Solopreneur Awards this year, and did that later that year, and launched a program and started my speaker boot camps. And it just reinvigorated me. So, but yeah, I did come that close to just throwing it all in.
yeah. I think sometimes, whether it's from a professional or personal, you know, space, when you get to that burnout phase, it is
Yeah,
really hard. You do lose your passion for everything, and
yeah,
you just wanna sort of curl up, close the door and close the curtains,
yeah,
um, and I think sometimes it's actually hard to see that that is coming as well. You
yeah.
just you just keep going, don't you? And I
It's
think,
easy. Just break a bone, it makes you stop.
yeah. But do you I think it must be the universe is saying, "Oh, Sandra needs a break now. She needs some space. Let's crack one of those bones and give her
Well,
that opportunity."
ironically, when I was going on that holiday, and I'd so needed time out, my mum had gone into a care
Mm.
home. I just needed to get away. Said to everybody, I'm going on a break. I'm going to lie on my back with my arm in the air, and somebody's going to put a drink in it. Be careful what you wish for, because I went away for a break. On day one, I broke my wrist. I lay on my back all week in a beautiful cabana by the pool, because they upgraded us at the hotel, lying on
Oh,
my
did
back with my arm in a brace on a pillow, and literally it was poised for drinks. And my friend was running back and forth to the bar to get me drinks. So, yeah, be careful what you wish for.
yeah, you visualised it, but not quite in the same way.
Quite in that way. But, as I say, everything happens for a reason. I
Yeah,
was meant to do that, because that gave me back my passion for my business.
yeah, which is so amazing because what you do, you know, you've created a real community, and I love that, and you are doing a lot of work at the moment with public speaking, aren't you? In this, was it the Speaker Boot Camp? Is that what it's called?
That's right. Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Everybody has got a story, and so many women come up to me and
yeah,
say, "I'd love to speak on stage. I'd love to share my story. And, I run events. So I've got the stage. And then what I do is work with the women and say, well, here's how you can share your story. And
Mhm.
the speaker boot camps are to unpack and unpick that story, give them the tools and the techniques they need to create and formulate that story. And so they can start their own speaking journeys. And stories are so powerful. Once
Yeah,
we
they
get them
are.
out there, people remember them, and it draws people to us. And it's one of the best ways of growing your audience.
Mm.
And meeting new people is to get on a stage and share your story.
I love that, but it is one of the most terrifying things. I think I saw a stat once actually that it was the most, like the biggest fear of everybody is public
Yes.
speaking. And mine was 2022, I think, when I did my first public speaking opportunity. It was at a Women in Business, Karen Brady's Women in Business event. And the fear I felt before I went on stage, I can't even describe it. When you feel I was getting out of breath because of
Mm,
my nerves.
yeah.
But as soon as I got on the stage, I knew, my content. I was, confident in what I was sharing. It was just the fear of people looking at me. But once I got up there and I was talking
Mm,
about, something I know, and I think especially when it's your personal story,
mm.
I think you lose a lot of that nerve, and it's done huge things for me personally and my confidence, but also for my business and my authority in the space. So I think it's a huge benefit to anybody to do public speaking, but it takes a lot of sort of bravery and to take that first step, doesn't
It
it?
does, and people, if you've got a message, a clear message, and I
Mhm.
talk about the construction of the keynote and how to deliver it and all those tips and things. But if you've got a message you can impart and you can empower just one person in the audience to take action and do something, then you've achieved your goal.
Yeah,
And that's what it's all about. And I bump into people all over the place, and they say, "Oh, hi, Sandra, has," and they'll tell me something that I said on stage maybe 5 years ago. And I say, "Oh my
really.
gosh, have you remembered that?" I don't even know their name, but they remember me. And that's the power of speaking from stage.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how did your speaking journey start? Because obviously there's not a lot of public speaking in solicitor, being in a solicitor. So was it just your first ever awards that you got up on stage and it's
No,
led from there, or?
I didn't get on the stage at my first awards. I sat in the audience. I
Yeah.
used to pay someone to run my events on stage.
Oh,
And it
really?
took, I think it was year 3, a friend said to me, "Why aren't you speaking on your own stage?"
Mm.
And that's when I started hosting. No, I've been speaking for 25 years.
Mm.
So as a solicitor, you do a lot of speaking.
Oh, do
So,
you?
yeah, so I trained in speaking and media when I qualified to be a solicitor. So because
Oh.
you speak in court, you have to put your
Oh, of
position across to
course.
a judge in court.
Of
So we were
course.
filmed. We weren't allowed to use our hands. They had to sit neatly in front of us or neatly behind us.
Oh,
We
I'd
weren't
fail
allowed.
then 'cause I'm always
Yeah,
talking with my
I
hands.
talk with my hands, but we had during our training, we had people come in and do presentation skills training, speaker training. Through the years, I've had media training. I've been interviewed
Mm.
on TV, radio. I've had all that training. So it developed over the years. My first ever proper speaking was when I first started my own business. And I thought I need to get out networking and spread my words.
Mhm.
And I never forget standing up in an audience. I'd seen somebody once with these little cards on a ring, and I thought,
Yeah.
that looks good, I'll do that. So I got my little cards on a ring, but I hadn't realised about the content. The content is key. So I just blasted them with loads of facts about the law and everything like that. And when I looked up, because I forgot to look up, when I looked up to engage with my audience, and I didn't understand what that was all about, the guy at the front was asleep. He dozed off, and I sort of wrapped it up and went back to my seat. I thought, I'm never doing that again. I'm going to be me
Oh,
when I stand on stage. I'm going to
yeah.
deliver it in my style. So I never talked about the law. What I did was I told stories from stage, but did it in a way that gave examples. I used to talk about social media and the law, hiring and firing, but put it into stories. And as soon as I realized the power of storytelling, my speaking journey took off, and then I got booked to speak on different stages and conferences associated with the law. And then obviously when I went into Woman Who, I'd got that gift then to be able to share with other
Mhm.
people.
I love that. I had no idea, but obviously, as you say, that actually makes complete sense that you have to stand up in court and yeah, depending on what case you're on, be in the media and
Yeah.
things. So that's
You're
seen you
you're
in
s
good stead.
you're selling when you're in court, you are there for one side, and you are
Yeah.
selling that story to the judge, and
And
the other side
ultimately, it all
sells their
weighs on
story
how
to
well
the
you do
judge.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's all about how you present and how well it comes across, yeah.
that's really interesting. Yeah, mind blown. I hadn't thought about that at all. So, one last question. I can't let you go without asking you about your amazing MBE and how you got it. So, can you share that with us?
Yeah, it's the one award you can't put yourself forward for.
Mhm.
I because I was at the time caring for my dad, he was terminally ill. It was just before COVID, and I got a phone call. I was been to see a venue in Sheffield. We'd just launched Woman Who in Sheffield in late 2019. Driving back down the motorway, and I get this phone call, a very hoity-toity voice, and he said, "Is that Sandra Garlick?" And I said, "Speaking." He said, "This is the Cabinet Office," and I thought, "Oh, what have I
Yeah.
done?" I was going to say a four-letter word then. I thought, gosh, what have I done? Cabinet Office calling me, have I paid my
Mhm.
taxes, have I paid my VAT, all this sort of stuff. And I just said, so what is it? And then I immediately thought, scam. He said, what's your email address? I thought, this is a scam. So I
Yeah.
did give him the email address, checked my email, pulled over in the services, nothing. And I thought, right. He said, you've got a letter from us, but you haven't responded. Got home, pile of posts that I hadn't even looked at, opened it, found this envelope from the Cabinet Office, and it was the Prime Minister has recommended you to be awarded an MBE. Please fill in this form, scan it back to us if you accept, because some people don't accept. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
who's put me forward? Who's put me forward for an MBE? Blown away by it, filled in the form, sent it back, and heard nothing. And because I was 3 weeks out of time, I thought, oh, well, that was nice, missed out, typical, and as I say, my dad was ill and everything. You can't tell anybody, you're sworn to secrecy. So I
Oh,
couldn't even ask
really?
anybody, I couldn't phone anybody or anything. And then it gets announced in the new year. And on the 27th of December, 2019, I was just going to sleep and I was living at my mum and dad's at the time because of caring for my dad.
Mhm.
And it was about, I don't know, 10 at night, just about to doze off. And my Facebook, I was going ping, 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 ping. And it was all going all off at once and everyone saying congratulations. And when I tapped in, I saw that I'd been awarded the MBE. Tapped on my mum and dad's door because I thought if my dad dies overnight and doesn't know,
Oh.
so I woke them up. I said, I've just been awarded an MBE. And it
Oh,
was for my
good.
services to women in business, yeah. And I subsequently found out it was somebody at the Federation of Small Businesses that had put me forward. Yeah. My work
That
that
is
I'd done.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So nearly didn't
But
get it. It's the award I nearly didn't get, and then I had to wait until 18 months before I could collect my award because of COVID. So and I was
of
awarded at
course.
Windsor Castle by the Princess Royal. We had a lovely chat, almost to the extent where it was that friendly. It was almost she was asking me about my events, and it was almost I was on the tip of my tongue saying, "Come on to the next one. You could be a speaker," but I didn't. I
You
held back.
you definitely should have. Could you imagine? You'd sell out
Yes.
that event for sure, wouldn't you?
Come on, you'd love it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That must have been well, I suppose so you just put it to bed, you thought, "Oh, well, I've missed it and that's it."
Yeah,
So but that's like a real painful wait, isn't it, for some people? I didn't realise that's how it was done.
yeah. It was a really weird year as well because I got the F Entrepreneur 100 as the I Also 100 in the January.
Wow.
I won my Theopophytis SBS Sunday as well. It was just like all these things were aligning all at once, and then COVID hit. But that set me up really. Having that bit of bling, as I call it,
Mm.
really, really put me on the map. So
Gave you the
I think
authority.
that really helped during COVID because had I
Mm.
not got that, I'd still got the business behind me, but I think that gave me something to talk about. It gave me some PR opportunities. It gave me the opportunity to get my story out there even more. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I think it's well deserved. And I've wanted to ask you for so long how it came about, so I've had the opportunity now. But yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. If people are interested in working with you more, finding out more about you, where would they be able to find you?
Well, everything is on my website, womanwho.co.uk. All my events are on there, all my courses, academy, everything's on there. You can follow me, Sandra Garlick on LinkedIn, at Sandra Garlick on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sandra, again. And thank you to all our listeners for sticking with us. I hope they found some really good value in there, and I will speak to you all next week.